So you might want to get that before we get started. so much for all you did for the back to school event.
Oh my
Appreciate
goodness,
you.
that's
Thank
a
you.
small thing.
Thank
That's
you,
a small
thank you,
thing.
thank you.
Miss Zoe,
Hi, how are you? Good, nice to see you.
so I brought her in her girls club house.
Beautiful.
So Commissioner could see her today.
Beautiful.
And I have the youth commissioner back there, and I
Okay.
let her know that if there's anything that
Yeah.
you guys need today, I know it wasn't a formal request,
Right.
but he's here
Okay.
at any given time. You throw your hand up, and I will send him your way.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay.
And so, she knows regulatory stuff, so I just got to get her on board. So she'll be, I'm sending her through the regular training, but I'm going to see if there's any fast track.
Chandra's going first, then you. Doesn't matter. Because I'm going to call y'all up. Good morning, good morning. We're going to get started in just a minute. We've got more chairs coming in. Thank you all for coming out on this Saturday. Got to let our folks that are watching from YouTube know that we're going to be starting soon. If I've got any department heads or department representatives here, can you just put your hand up in the air? Wave it. Okay. Oh, he on back there, but I usually get him to come up. Good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday. Thank you all for coming out this morning. My name is Alicia Brooks, and I serve as the Chief of Staff to Commissioner Chakira Johnson, District 4. This is probably our 8th year doing these community breakfast meetings. And this breakfast meeting, we have tagged it Chakira's Connection. Community Connection, all right, excuse me, Community Connection. And we design these meetings for our constituents so that you have access to your commissioner in your communities. We do move around. The last meeting we held was at East Central DeKalb Community and Senior Center, and now we're here at the magnificent Tobie Grant Recreational Center. And if you haven't been here before, please make sure that you speak with the representatives here at Tobie Grant. They'll tell you about all the different programming and resources and services here. We actually have a library at this location. So it never fails that we meet people in the community and they are unaware of the resources that the county has and the county offers in our community. And we are very pleased to have this center here. It was a long time coming. It was well before I got to the county, my understanding, about 15, 16 years of planning, and I know we got some Scottdale folks here who know what that process was like. So this is a testament, this building is a testament that when you want something in your community and you partner with your county representatives, dreams can come true. This morning, we've got 2 guest speakers. We've got Ms. Tanza Clark, with our co-compliance officer, our director, newly appointed director. We've got Jacob Vallow, who is our chief development officer with the CEO's office, the administration, and they will share with us all that they're working on, their vision and their goals in their respective areas. I do want to do a couple of housekeeping. If you've not gotten breakfast, of course, it's right outside this door to your left. There's juice, coffee, water, juice and food. Please partake. The restrooms also are to the left. And to the right, we've got some representatives from various departments that are here. Code Compliance has a table outside. Please stop by there, pick up some brochures and some information regarding code compliance and enforcement. We also have our extension program, DeKalb County's extension program, and they've got a smoothie bike here. I'd never heard of a smoothie bike. Anybody know what a smoothie bike is? I think it probably has something to do with moving the legs and creating a smoothie while exercising. So, two good things, right? Exercising and healthy smoothies. You know, some smoothies are not that healthy, right, Jacob? And other smoothies are really, really healthy. So I think that's, you know, the brain can come up with a lot of good ideas, but it really is the ingenuity of the people who put it together that then create something like a smoothie bike. So go take a look at that. We're excited to have them here. And we've got other representatives here outside, and just please stop by. These representatives are example of what the county puts out into the community for all of us, for all of you. I am going to introduce Commissioner Johnson, and I'll just briefly say, I live in District 4. I'm a longtime DeKalb County resident. I have seen and I am watching the transformation in the county. I'm watching the transformation in District 4. I treated government like a spectator sport. I was on my couch. I watched TV. I got annoyed. I couldn't understand why representatives made the decisions that they made, why they were doing what they were doing, and then something triggered me, and it was our former president. I don't think that this is his token words, but it's meaningful. I don't think he was the first to say this. Politics is not a spectator sport. It takes all of us. Government takes all of us. So I finally said, okay, get up, go see what you can do. And I worked on the second campaign of Commissioner Bradshaw, former Commissioner Bradshaw, and history, I'm still here. And that opened my eyes to what it takes for governance to work for us. We got to get involved. We have to participate, whatever that looks like. All of us can't stop doing what we're doing and come and work for a county commissioner. And I did that kicking and screaming, by the way. Not this one, but I did it kicking and screaming because I was really comfortable with what I was doing. But it's been one of the most rewarding opportunities that I have had. So I wanted to share with you, I'm in the county, I see things, I report it back. As a matter of fact, I went and put my eyes on a pothole the other day because I was getting a phone call about a pothole. So I went and put my eyes on it because I could do that. These are things that our office, we want to do more of that. We want to do more of being able to get out, put our eyes on things. We can't do it all because District 4 is large. We can't do it all, but we do our best. That means we need your eyes. We need your ears. We need to know what you see. We need to know what matters to you. So I'm going to stop, and I will introduce Commissioner Chakira Johnson. We are extremely fortunate to have Commissioner Johnson as our District 4 Commissioner. She comes to us with a wealth of experience. She formerly served on the City Council of Stone Mountain for about 16 years, and she was Mayor Pro Tem. So her learning curve wasn't so steep in that she gets it, she understands. What's nice about partnering and working with Commissioner Johnson is that she's about the business, your business. She doesn't get lost in all that other stuff. She hears you, and she wants to execute on what we need in District 4. She also is a civil engineer, and that, in my mind, is a plus, 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 because infrastructure is huge in DeKalb County. We've got infrastructure needs. We've been working on those infrastructure needs, but we've got somebody who understands all of that lingo and that language, and when I don't understand, I can ask her. So, Commissioner, please join us.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for that introduction, Ms. Brooks. I appreciate you. luckily, when I did approach her for staying on as my chief of staff, there was no kicking and screaming this time. And she has been a great asset. As she was talking about, politics and governance is not a spectator sport. And I actually got elected to Stone Mountain City Council at the age of 29. I had served a year and a half before that on our Downtown Development Authority because the mayor at the time saw me, met me, and asked me to get involved. And when, sometimes when someone of that stature sees something in you and asks you to get involved, you step up and you do it. And I didn't even realize at the time that I had such a passion for giving back to the community and helping serve the community. So that's why I stayed on Stone Mountain City Council for 16 years and why I threw my name in the hat to be your next county commissioner. Excited. We've been having a good, where are we at? 6 months, feels like 2 years already though. We hit the ground running in January and we have not completely slowed down yet, but we have a lot of great things going on here in the county. So I'm gonna talk just briefly. I know you guys are really here to hear from our speakers, so I won't hold you for too long. Kind of what we're working on the BOC, or Board of Commissioners as we affectionately call it. We're in our mid-year budget amendment updates. We had a special called Finance, Audit, and Budget Committee meeting. It's one of the committees that I sit on, and then we are the committee that the audits come to, the budget comes through. So we had a special call meeting on that on Thursday, and we had all the district commissioners compile some budget amendments that we would like the administration to consider funding. Some of the ones that I put forward for District 4 are related to homelessness. So there's two aspects of that I put forward. I would like to see our administration fund our community development department in the general fund. Right now their funding comes from federal funding, and they are the entity that has the most impact in dealing with our homeless issue that, as we all know, is growing exponentially in our community, not just District 4, but all over the region. And the other side of that is to help with the beautification side. So when encampments happen in the woods or you see the debris on Memorial Drive, that's another entity and team that goes out there and cleans that up. So I want to make sure they have the funds they need to address those issues and keep our community clean. Some of the other items, there's a sidewalk project and just outside the city limits of Stone Mountain, Mountain View Drive. It's a dangerous road. We've been able to it's a short road, but it's dangerous because there's no sidewalks, there's no shoulders. We were able to work with transportation department who contacted Georgia Power, and we were able to get additional street lights put in. We had the poles were there, they just needed additional lights, so that helps with visibility. So that's one aspect of the project that's completed, but getting sidewalks is, it's gonna cost a couple $1 million, so putting some money towards that as well. We did just approve the millage rate. We set our millage rate on July 8th. That is tied to your property taxes. So we have held the same millage rate for about 10 years. We did not increase our millage rate. Now, your property assessment and your value may go up, which may increase your bill, but the aspect of what the Board of Commissioners had control of, we did not increase that. Other big items that we've all been aware of is in February of this year, we passed a 10x10 rate increase for the water and sewer bills, but we also passed a resolution for protection for ratepayers who would be greatly impacted by that rate increase. The rate increase is needed to make sure that we are handling all those infrastructure issues that we are having. We had a water main break, yesterday, that impacted Tobie Grant right here, and it was about 5 o'clock that we got the all clear that we would actually be able to have this meeting. So, these are ongoing issues, and it takes money and time to fix these issues. But, excuse me, when we originally passed the rate increase, it was set to go into effect on July 1st. However, a CEO in the administration has delayed the rate increase while they work on getting the water advocacy group in place, and they have chosen the Urban League to act as that third-party group that will work with the customers who are having issues paying the bills. They're going to create an amnesty program that is on our schedule for Tuesday to vote on. I intend to support that. I think the Urban League was a great choice. It's a trusted third-party entity. They've been doing this work for, in Atlanta area, 105 years. They come with a great track record. I really applaud CEO for being able to use that entity and bring them into DeKalb County to help us out. So the rate increase is delayed while we get that piece set up so that we can balance people having to pay more money and making sure we have the programs in place to help them if they cannot afford that. So we're trying to take a balanced approach to that. Just in general, District 4 goals, we have 5 focus areas in District 4, in the District 4 office that we're really focused on. We've talked about a couple of them already, infrastructure being one of the top ones. Thank you. Infrastructure being top of mind. As was stated, I am a civil engineer by trade, so when it comes to infrastructure, that is something that I'm always thinking about and really want to make sure that we're focusing on, because for too many years, and it's not even just a DeKalb County project, but across the region, we've not been putting the money, time, and effort into making sure our infrastructure is strong and can support the growth. Another area that we've kind of mentioned already is focusing on working on our homelessness issue in DeKalb County. Our third area is Memorial Drive revitalization, and we have some great projects that we're trying to get going. Jacob Vallow and our team, we went out and did a tour of Memorial Drive just to really put our eyes on things and see what's happening and see where we can make improvements. We also want to make sure we're welcoming and supporting our new Americans and our immigrant and refugee community, because we are a very diverse community here in District 4, and we have a lot of those residents here. We want to make sure they are getting their support. And then our 5th focus area is youth development. And you'll see that our district office has put money where our mouth is and making sure that we're supporting youth services, which is under the direction of Human Services. Director Damon Scott is in the back, hiding back there, and he acts like I don't see him. We have great partners within all our departments here in DeKalb County, and that has been just so great. I've been so grateful for the partnerships we've had with our department heads, being a new commissioner, and just seeing the amount of support that we are able to gain to put these events on. We thank DCTV, we thank District 6 Commissioner Ted Terry. He has staff here as well. So if you have any questions for his office, he's represented today as well. Again, just grateful to have this opportunity to get in front of you, but I'm gonna shut up now because y'all really don't want to hear from me. Our first speaker is Ms. Director Tonza Clark, our new director from Code Complaints.
Thank you. And we are going to hear from Ms. Clark and Mr. Vallow, and we're going to hold for Q&A at the end. So if you got questions, just jot them down, but we're going to hold for Q&A at the end. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you Commissioner, thank you for having me here, just to share some of what we have going on in code compliance, what we've been doing, what we plan on doing, and so this is just a great opportunity. Thank you for putting this together so that not only you can hear from me, but I can also hear from you and see how it is that we can work together as a community to get the job done in the county. So I'm going to give you all a brief overview of what it is that that we do before I go into sort of the state of affairs, where we are currently, and what it is that we're planning to launch and do in order to get us where we need to be. So if, next slide. Yeah, is there a clicker? Okay, it's fancy. Okay, so let me go back. Okay, so our mission in code compliance is basically to serve you, the residents of DeKalb County, and enforcing the codes. And one of the things that I want to point out, because this is something I've been saying over and over again, is that when we serve you, protecting your safety, welfare, your quality of life, we want to do that with professionalism, with timeliness, and efficiency. And I stress those last three words because that is where we're going. We want to make sure that everything that we do is professional so that you see, as the CEO, she always says, this is DeKalb reimagined. Well, don't judge me, don't judge code compliance from experiences in the past. We're moving forward, we're looking ahead, and we're gonna get there together. And so my promise to you is that everything that you begin to see is that needle moving, and we will serve with professionalism, we will be timely. When you call and you ask for an inspection to be completed, you are going to see a response from our code officers within 72 hours. Also efficiency, everything that we do, we're gonna do it better than we were doing it. So going to what it is that we do, property maintenance. We regulate property, we don't regulate people, we regulate property. And so property maintenance, that's how tall your grass is, what you can and cannot do with your property, making sure there's certain quality of life that you are insured to. Zoning, that is basically the land use. What can you use your property for? Is it a nightclub that is not supposed to be there? Are they having parties late at night and turning a residential house into a late night establishment? You know, is there a business operating without a business license? So those are part of the zoning codes that we enforce. Also signs. What does a sign look like on a building? Is it dilapidated? Right now, if you go down all of our corridors, and this is the CEO's pet peeve, is that you see all these abandoned signs. This paint is peeling, there's nothing there, it's just a shell. And so we've developed a corridor team that we've got a whole new set of officers on that team, and you're gonna start seeing, we've been partnering with Mr. Vallow, so you're gonna start seeing changes along our commercial corridors. Permits, we also enforce that, so when planning and sustainability, when someone applies for a permit, basically at that point, planning and sustainability will take over, and they will guide the user or the builder or the resident business owner through the permitting process. Once that certificate of occupancy has been issued, then code compliance takes over. And then we will make sure that people are not operating in the county without a valid permit. And so if they're out there building, one of the first things we're gonna go look and see is, are you supposed to be building? Did you go through the proper channels to get the proper permits? Really quickly through the code enforcement process. And there's some things that I want to make sure that you understand as to how this thing works. Because if you understand, then it shifts the expectations. And also you know what it is that we are supposed to be doing for you and what we can't do for you. So our complaint comes in from you, from the residents, and we take complaints however we can get. If you can send it up through a smoke signal, we will take it. So you can email it in, you can walk it in. When you call us 311, filters our calls. If you can't remember our phone number, which in the end I'll give it to you, it's 404-687-3700. Just dial 311. You'll still get to us. So 311, there are call handlers, so you can call it in, you can send it through the web, however you want to get it to us, get that complaint into us. Once you do that, we will schedule an inspection. We will go out and we'll do that inspection. My promise to you is that we will get out to that initial inspection within 3 days. When I first started, I came on board August 26th. We were about 14 days with our initial inspections. I can say as of the end of May, we're down to 3 days. And the goal is to stay at 3 days. And so we're going through a total retooling of the organization. And that is so that we can be responsive, getting out to these properties and conducting these inspections timely. After the complaint comes in and we go out to be inspected, then the officer basically makes a determination on the site. is there a violation or is there not a violation? If there's a violation, two things can happen. You're either gonna get a warning notice or you're gonna get a citation. So part of what you've been seeing is no movement with the enforcement. You call it in, it stays for months, years, there's no response, and you feel like that needle is not moving. Part of the issue that I've discovered is that we've been writing too many warning notices. Warning notices is really a courtesy. And so I've been, every time I come out and I speak, I've been letting folks know we're not issuing warning notices unless we have to. The officer is going to be using their discretion, but what I've been telling them, because we have to clean up DeKalb, and we have to clean up DeKalb quickly. We don't know what's going to be happening, a year from now, 2 years from now, with all the changes that we're seeing going on economically. So my goal is to get in here quickly and clean up as much as we can while we have the resources before we start trying to figure out how we're going to make things happen. And so with that being said, no more warning notice. Because I can't speed, get pulled over, and ask the police for a warning. There's a presumption of law that we know the rules because the rules are written, and they've been on the books for a long time. Some of them are quite outdated. But the onus is on all of us as residents to know the rules and play by the rules. And so there's only one code in our ordinances that truly requires a warning notice, and that's open storage of trash and debris. So when we go out to the property, we have to allow them time, to clean it up. Other than that, everything else, we can go straight to a citation. And so that's what we're doing. So when your neighbors are complaining, when folks are calling us, because already we've been getting so many phone calls, you didn't give me a warning. Well, you're not entitled to a warning, just like you're not entitled to keep your property in the state that you're having your property in. So after, if a warning notice is issued, we give them time to comply. And this is where the discretion comes in. If it's cut your grass, we're gonna give you 2 weeks to cut your grass, if we decide to give you a warning notice. If it's, remove the trash and debris, you get 7 to 10 days to do that. But mainly we give everyone about 2 weeks before we schedule that reinspection. There are things that if it's a burnt property, we know that's gonna take a long time because you have to go through the process with insurance. If it's an elderly person that don't have the resources, that's when the officer begins to start using discretion. And so we may give an extension, like if it's a burnt property, it has to come down or has to be rebuilt. And they said, okay, I'm still working through with the insurance company, I need additional time, but we're gonna give the additional time. If we know it's an elderly person, we have to try to find resources to assist in them correcting the violation. We're gonna try to work with them as much as possible as long as we're seeing progress. Now, if it's a citation, automatically a court date is scheduled. Right now, in DeKalb County, the solicitor's office in the court is asking us to give them at least 45 days before that court date is scheduled. So again, let's set expectations. These things don't happen overnight. So if we issue the citation, now we have to wait for the court date to come up. So that's 45 days of you possibly having to wait with this violation going on in your community. Once we submit that citation to the court, technically it is no longer our case. It now is the state's case, and we become state's witness to the case. So our role in that particular case at this point is to go to court and serve as a witness as to the conditions on the property. And that's the confusing part, because I know a lot of times we get calls, why did the judge issue this fine? Why was the case dismissed? Why does it keep getting reset? At that point, we have no control over what goes on. That's that separation between the judiciary and the executive branch. So we fall under the executive branch in DeKalb County. And so we have no influence over what the solicitor does, what the court does. And so we show up to court, we basically provide testimony to saying on the date of the violation, this is what we observed. And so it goes through the adjudication process. Now, if the property is not in compliance and it's adjudicated, then what we will do, we have to close that case out, reopen a new case because we can't try them twice for the same thing. That's where double jeopardy comes in. So we have to close that case out, open a new case, and we start the process over again. We can't force someone to come into compliance, but we hope by being persistent, keep going out to the property, keep taking them through the process, that eventually they will get tired of that and clean up the property. And meanwhile, we're gonna do everything we can to bring them into compliance. So that's the process. I'm gonna skip over that. Basically, that's just the verbal description of everything I just explained to you with that picture. And I'm gonna go into explaining our basic violations. I'm gonna kind of race through this because you all probably know this better than I do, because I guarantee the people sitting in this room, you know the code because you're the ones that we get the complaints from. So high weeds and grass. High weeds and grass is considered anything over 12 inches in height. And all vegetation has to be cleared back 150 feet from your property. So if you have kudzu, ivy, tall grass, weeds, brush around your property, I don't want to, when we come out, I don't want to hear that, it's part of the woods or natural vegetation. You clear the woods back 150 feet from your structure. And that is the rule. So we're going to be looking at that. Sometimes, we like to think ivy is decorative. It can be decorative if it's well maintained, if you have it cut out in a pattern. But once that thing starts growing up trees, growing up the side of your structure, taking over the yard, it is considered a noxious weed. It is not decorative, and you have to clear it out. Open storage of trash and debris. Basically, you can't have your lawnmower stored on the side of the house. You can't have the cooler stored, on the side of the house or on the front porch. Don't lay a tarp over it thinking that if you cover it up and we can't see it, that's not a violation, because the tarp is considered open storage. And we hear that a lot, when it comes to barbecue grills and things like that, because, we like to sometimes keep our barbecue grills in the middle of the driveway or on the front porch. Please store it away where it's not visible, because it could create a blighting aesthetic. And so, you can't keep tires stacked up on the side of your house. You can't keep the garden tools on the side of your house. So those are all considered violent. So it's those little things that we don't think about, that when we get the ticket, the citation, then we will be wondering why. Parking on unpaved surface. So this can be a tricky one, especially when it comes to RVs and things like that. Certain vehicles are not allowed in the property, and we'll get to that. But if you're gonna park on the grass, that is a violation. You have to park on a paved surface. We will allow for gravel, but you can't just gravel where the vehicle is. It has to be a continuous paved surface, from the street to the driveway, or from the driveway to where that vehicle is parked. So if you pave a little patch that the vehicle is on, but everything else is grass leading from that patch of gravel to the driveway, that's not a continuous surface, because you have to drive over grass. And the reason for that is environmental. Vehicles leak toxic fluids into the ground. It gets into our groundwater. And so we want to prevent that by saying it needs, if you're going to park on the side of your house, it's not a driveway, it needs to be paved. And so that's just something, because we hear that question all the time. And so the key is that it needs to be continuous, meaning from road to where you're parking, no grass in between. Unregistered inoperable vehicles. This is something, so our main complaint that we get, number one complaint, is high weeds and grass. And then usually there's open storage. Lately, and this has been since I've been there and run the stats every month, unregistered inoperable vehicles is running neck and neck with high weeds and grass, and we're in the growing season. So this is really an issue in DeKalb County. So let's talk about that. If you have a vehicle, sometimes we like to cover up the vehicle because it doesn't have an active license plate on it, an active tag on it, and so we'll cover it up. The tires is on flat. and we go out there and you think that we're not gonna write it up, well, what I've been instructing my officers to do, ask politely, can I see under the tarp? Some people might, raise it up and let's see that, that tag was expired last year or 10 years ago. Also, when we go out and we're seeing that under the tires, it's not inflated, we're gonna write you up for an inoperable vehicle because you cannot drive that vehicle with the tires flat. If we see that that dirt is pooling around the wheels, the tires, and it hasn't been disturbed for a while and the grass is starting to grow out of that, it's an inoperable vehicle. So without seeing that tag, we're gonna write it up and we're gonna let the judge figure it out. So, because we've been getting a lot of that where, folks throw a tarp or car cover and they think that, that's gonna fix it. But the neighbors know that that car has been parked there and not being moved for years. Vehicle repair. If you're going to do minor repairs, change a tire, do your oil change, that has to be done in an enclosed space. That means in your garage, or if you have a special shed where you're gonna do those types of things, it has to be an enclosed space. You cannot change a tire, change your oil, put on new brakes in the driveway. It has to be in an enclosed space. And the reason being is where we get into the major overhaul. So you cannot, on any circumstances, change out your engine. That has to be done in a specially zoned area, not a residential area. So if you have a mechanic shop, someplace like that, then you can do that major overhaul, changing the alternator, because the neighborhood is not a mechanic shop. And so we will come out because the neighbors are calling. And so if you're gonna do that work, let's do it inside of your garage and not in the driveway. Parking of business vehicles, commercial vehicles. So the 18-wheelers coming into the neighborhoods being parked is tearing up our roads. Then we get the call that we need to come out and pave your roads, and then the commissioners are saying we have limited resources, and now you're on this tiered list. Well, when we allow those vehicles to come into the neighborhood and park, they're destroying the roads because those roads are not paved for that sort of heavy, constant traffic. So taxi cabs, the box trucks, we know that you're running your business, those are not allowed in the residential neighborhoods. RVs are allowed, but here's the thing. It has to be parked behind the house, and you have to have that continuous paved surface. So don't drive over the grass and park that RV behind the house on the grass. You have to create a paved surface for that. You have to extend that driveway and create a parking pad. We don't want to see that RV parked on the side of the house. When we go out, I can tell you, just about all those RVs are parked on the side of the house. It has to be out of sight, because your neighbors don't want to see that RV on the side of the house or even in the front yard. Vacant and unsecured structures, all properties in DeKalb County, if it's vacant, it has to be secured. That means it has to be boarded to certain specifications. Commercial, excessive window signs, and we're really gonna be enforcing this a whole lot more as we try to clean up our corridors. Window signs, and if you go to all your convenience stores and gas stations, it's covered with signs. Well, it cannot be more than 30%, and so we're really gonna be cracking down on that. Dilapidated, neglected signs, that's what we were talking about earlier. The signs, we're looking at the sign structure, it needs to be painted, it needs to be, have something in it, so we're gonna be cracking down on that. Abandoned commercial signs, business license. Right now, we have about 500 properties that we're going out to actively, where our officers are hitting the pavement, going down, up and down our corridors, making sure people have proper business license. Let's skip over that. Let me talk about tire dumping. There's some new legislation coming down the pipe. Tire dumping is out of control. Out of control. I can tell you, and I will admit, I don't know what the solution for it is because it is so egregious. But this Board of Commissioners, the CEO, Commissioner Terry just walked in. We just had a meeting talking about this issue. So these are things that there's legislation currently going through the Board of Commissioners to address a lot of these issues that you're seeing. We're also cracking down on dumpsters. because what we're seeing is that the commercial dumpsters are being used as a dumping site. And so every commercial dumpster has to be in an enclosed fence, a little space. And so we're working with sanitation on this, partnering with them to make sure that we don't have just dumpsters sitting out there that's not fenced around. Same thing with litter. We are cracking down on that also, but we look at that as open storage of trash and debris. Our corridor cleanup, working directly with Mr. Vallow, identifying all of those commercial zones that's slated for economic development. We know that we have certain projects that's coming and we need to go, and so code enforcement right now is the front line. We need to go and clean up these areas so that we can pave the way for businesses to come in. And the goal is to shift the trajectory of our commercial corridors, our Memorial Drives, our Candler Roads, Kensington area. We see the development coming. However, we want to attract businesses, and so we're going to be really hitting the ground hard, and we're going to be enforcing what these properties look like so that we can bring in some economic development. Ordinances, let's talk about that. Currently, we have the VSS, Video Surveillance Ordinance, that just started back. Parts of it was just, had state legislation that allowed the DeKalb County ordinance to then move forward. That ordinance was passed by introduced by the CEO several years ago, I think back in 2023, was passed in December 2024. But parts of the ordinance, state legislature passed a bill, preempted our ordinance, so we couldn't enforce our ordinance against gas stations. So move forward a couple of years. July 1st, the governor, a new legislation was introduced, basically saying, DeKalb, you can move forward with your ordinance. So as of July 1st, we can now move forward with that part of the ordinance that basically requires gas stations, convenience stores with and without gas, to have a video surveillance system. When that ordinance first passed, immediately the police department was able to solve so many crimes because they had video footage. And so right now we're preparing, we're going out there enforcing that, so all gas stations and convenience stores have to have a video surveillance, make the footage available to the police department if there's a crime that's been committed. And when we go out to these businesses, we're not just looking for video surveillance, we're looking for everything on that property. So we're gonna write them up for everything. We're gonna use this block by block approach, monitor business, which is also part of that video surveillance systems, where if you have 3 convictions of crime, even if it's not a gas station, you have to have this video surveillance. I can tell you right now, we've got probably about, don't quote me if I'm wrong, but maybe about 18. I can tell you the vast majority of them is your extended stay motels. We've got 1 storage unit, and I don't know how they got on the list, but all the rest of them are extended stay motels. Right here up and down Candler Road, we have a special partnership. We're working with several departments where we go out and we do inspections on those. We have our supervisor who's over the multifamily and hotel motel. So we are addressing these issues aggressively with our motels and hotels, and also our apartment complexes, trying to bring them to a certain standard. Late night inspections, we have a special initiative where we go out with police and fire, sometimes the health department, but our officers are out. We usually get started about 11 o'clock at night, and we do that overnight where we have certain businesses that basically we go in together. It's vice, narcotics. We all go in, and these are basically based on complaints or issues that we know that are that is going on. And our goal is to correct the behavior or shut it down. Weekend, and this is the last thing, Alicia, and I'm done. I promise you, I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna shut up. Weekend and extended hours. So we've been hearing from you. We hear you, and so we're doing something about it. This is the efficiency I'm talking about, and this is the timeliness. So a lot of the issues that we're seeing is occurring after hours. On the weekends, we already have a Saturday shift that works on Saturdays, but also after hours. it's difficult for us to catch the major overhauls, you know, the neighbor doing the auto repairs in the driveway, if he's doing it on the weekends or in the evenings. Basketball goals, the tractor trailers coming in after hours, the party houses, because we're not there. And so beginning August 2nd, we will move to extended hours. You can't come into the office will be closed, but this will be for inspections only. And so our new hours as of August 2nd will be 8:30 a.m. to 8 p.m., Monday through Saturday. And so right now, my staff is not very happy with me. But everyone is gonna be on a staggered shift. And so we're looking to make it beneficial for them, move them to like a 4-10, so they'll be working 4 days a week, 10 hours a day, 2 separate shifts that day. And then we have a group who has childcare issues. They're basically gonna be still working the 8:30 to 5, but then they're gonna have to be doing more of the Saturday inspections. And that will help them with the childcare issues because, you know, we recognize employees too have some sensitive circumstances going on, but you're gonna be seeing us out in the neighborhoods. Our goal, we have a lot of cases, and I'm not gonna lie, we have a backlog, and you know we have a backlog. The goal is to reduce that backlog, because until we get that backlog reduced, and all this stuff that's coming down the pipe, we're gonna crash and burn before we even get started. And so, bear with us. I'm asking for a little bit of grace and space to be able to get this stuff cleaned up, get it under control, because before you can begin to see any results on the ground, we have to clean up our stuff in-house. And so we're doing a lot of cleanup in-house. There's gonna be retraining. Every 2 weeks, our officers gonna be in a half-a-day training. 90% of our officers are brand-new officers, I mean, they've been there 2 years or less. It's a lot to learn. And so when they go out and you call and you said, they didn't write this up, and I see it, well, part of that is because they're new officers and they're still in a training mode. And so we're gonna be prioritizing training. We're gonna make sure that when the officers hit the ground, they're well-trained, and training is continuous. Processes have to be developed in-house. And so we're basically reimagining what this department looks like so it can better serve you. And so that's gonna take some time. And so I just wanna be transparent that we're doing a lot of things, we're doing things differently. We're doing things that are out of the box. One thing I could tell you about me, if there's a loophole, I know how to jump through it. And so I'm looking for all the loopholes in the code to where we can do things differently so that we can get the results that we need to get. And so with that, I'm gonna close and say thank you for all that you do. If you need anything, give us a call. Send a smoke signal, and our goal is to serve with professionalism, timeliness, and efficiency. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Clark. Thank you. So we know District 4 has an excellent relationship with code compliance and enforcement. Your department is extremely responsive to us, so we thank you for that. We know that the matter of trying to get homeowners, residents compliant is not an easy thing. I often say that in this, at least in this area and in other areas, that if we could get people to do exactly what we want them to do in the way we want them to do it, all of us would probably be billionaires. But what comes with what we're trying to execute in the county, especially in code compliance, is that you're dealing with all kinds of variables that they don't have any control over. Commissioner Johnson and our team met with and did a site visit with the Solicitor General about a month ago, and out of that office, they manage that court piece. What our code compliance officers do, they do their job. They go out and they do the citations, and I know you got a lot of people that are new, but that piece of holding your neighbor accountable really lands with the magistrate court, right? So you've got a judge that works with a homeowner to try to get them to be compliant. But human beings are human beings. That's a funny thing, right? Human being, we all got those people in our family, right? They just won't do right. And those won't do right people live next to us. All right? So you get grace, you get space, you know you're working on it, and it takes all of us to have a little bit of patience with it too. We get the phone calls. Our office, we get the phone calls about that neighbor that's been a problem for 10, 15 years. We get those phone calls. We get the phone calls about the house that's falling apart and has been looking like that for 20 years, 25 years. We get that. If we could get human beings to do exactly what we want them to do and what they should do by the code, this would be easy, but it's not easy. And if we could solve it, somebody would have done it long before. Director Clark, and she's doing the best that she can with the tools that she has, so we thank you. Next, we're going to have Mr. Vallow come up, our Chief Development Officer. Ready?
Ready.
Commissioner Terry's here, District 6.
All right. I do not mess with Miss Tanza. So I'm Jacob Vallow. Good morning. I serve as Madam CEO's Chief Development Officer. It's the first time we've had a role like this in DeKalb County. I've lived in DeKalb County for a long time, on and off again for about 18 years, raising a family with my wife here, and blessed to be in this role to help both economic as well as community development projects move forward. I will say that I'm also blessed to be working with amazing people at DeKalb. I want to say thank you to Commissioner Johnson. We talk about the civil engineering mindset. I mean, the problem-solving mindset is something that's in the DNA of this new administration. And as you hear individuals on the team talk, you'll notice that we're trying to figure out how to do things differently to deliver a better DeKalb to you all. I also want to say on behalf of Madam CEO, she's on vacation this week, but she is not on vacation. She's sending texts and emails, and I'm sure many of you know this woman. She is a pretty amazing human being, and I'm grateful for serving under her. We had a department meeting last Friday, and Tanza came in, and we started early, and they were out till 2 in the morning on these code enforcement matters with our police department, trying to make a better DeKalb. So I guess want to iterate that your commissioners are working really hard. Everybody's working really hard. And I got a text from a friend the other day. It was like 6:30 yesterday. I was still in the office, and she said, I don't think government is supposed to be staying this late, but we are. We all are for you all. So. But great to be with you all. My role is basically, as Madam CEO says, to unstuck stuck stuff. And I have no employees. I work across departments with commissioners and bring to the county a skill set of problem solving, raising capital, building projects, developing projects. I had spent 19 years in the private sector before working with MARTA on transit-oriented development and affordable housing, and we built a little bit of a food system as well as what's called Fresh MARTA Markets. And so my role in DeKalb is similar to a prayer I do every morning and evening with my kids, where I express my thanks for my job first and the opportunity to serve you all and serve with my colleagues, but also I'm thankful for the water that we have and the air we have and the food and the shelter and the transportation and the education and the utilities and public safety, and for the love we all have in the family and in the community. And that's essentially what I work on every day with all these great people that work at DeKalb. And so, as we dig into those various areas on the water side, Madam CEO showed a lot of courage along with the Board of Commissioners to pass the water rate increase. It was not easy. It's not something that anybody really wanted to do, but we were faced with crumbling infrastructure that has not been attended to for a long time. So we want to make sure everybody has access to clean water. It is a public health issue, and it's something that's paramount to maintaining the community, growing the community, and making sure everyone has access to a healthy lifestyle. On the housing side, we are hiring a chief housing officer. It's the first time the county has ever had a chief housing officer. This person is scheduled to start in August. And so you'll have, in addition to some great housing folks we already have on the team with Pete Walker and John Corcoran, which run the Housing Authority. We also have the Community Development Group, which does makes a lot of great investments in housing throughout the county. But they also have 1,600 permanent supportive housing beds for the unhoused. I think there was a comment made earlier by the commissioner about the desire to make sure that community development department continues its great work, even in the face of a potential federal funding cut. So we're working diligently to figure out solutions. I love the solution of the county picking up and bridging the gap. Hopefully it's just for 3.5 years, and then things will pivot back in the other direction. But we also need capital to make sure that these public subsidies are available to support these 1,600 units. We have $8 million of federal funding that's remaining from during COVID. It's ARP and ERA2 money. So we're looking to invest in 60 units of transitional housing, mainly for families. First, they're 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, and 3 bedrooms. And mentioned earlier, we have a lot of families that are actually living in extended stays with kids. And so we want to provide an opportunity to give them an opportunity to transition to more stable housing with a little bit more dignity. The extended stay issue was brought up earlier. It is a huge issue, and many of you might have seen the $40 million judgment against United Extended Stay, which is near the Wendy's on Memorial. And that is a significant judgment. And the weight of it and the importance of it is that it will cause, I'm hopeful, it will cause property owners to pay attention to the crime and the bad things that are going on their properties and in those units. And if a $40 million judgment doesn't make them do that, I don't know what kind of people these are. So, but I don't know if many of you heard Patrick McDonald, who's the attorney, who's a plaintiff's attorney on that case. He said he has 2 others that have been brought recently. But I do think that I wanted to reach out to him just to see if they were in DeKalb. And but if not, I'd like to get him to continue to look at helping us out in DeKalb, because that's a real issue. But understanding the commissioners recently passed a consultant study to look at the needs assessment of the unhoused. And this is really I would say, asset map of the services that are being offered and where's the funding coming from, where are the gaps, how do we get folks help with security deposits, and folks who have whether it's power bills and water bills that they owe on and therefore cannot get reconnected when they're looking to locate into a traditional apartment unit. But we're diligently we're not up at 30,000 feet. Everyone's getting their hands dirty. Tires were mentioned recently. This has been a decade-long problem and growing. And we had a call, I guess, a couple weeks ago, Tracy. There's probably 15, and Tonzo was on it. And this had to do originally with public safety. And we're looking at increasing the number of cameras and drones in the county. And so we were looking at the 41 main tire dumping sites, illegal tire dumping sites, and we're trying to figure out how to really turn the tide. And one of the constraints in the workflow was that typically Georgia EPD provides up to $75,000 in reimbursement. And our entire workflow was set up such that we can access that $75,000. So we collectively thought, well, what if we could just find money in the general fund of $250,000. Do we have to do the same thing, that same workflow? And the answer was no. And so we were sort of mentally constrained by this process that the state had to get to the 75,000. And again, going back to sort of the engineering mindset and CEOs, DeKalb reimagined, we said, well, let's not do it this way, let's do it this way. And so we're actually, hopefully in the next 30 days, we'll announce something with more detail, but we've really changed the mindset and how we're going to clean up the tires in DeKalb, so we're excited about that, along with and that's the cleanup part, but going forward, the legislation that the Board of Commissioners are putting forward is super important in order to prevent illegal dumping, tire dumping in the future. So what else? Solar, we've got a solar RFP we're working on to add solar on top of the county's buildings to save money. What else is a lot? Water. Yeah, there's so many different things, but I think my time ended at 10:20, and love to hear from you all on things you're hearing. We're doing a lot in community economic development throughout Central and South DeKalb. As I mentioned, spent a good bit of my prior career in the investment business, and so I'm bringing folks to South DeKalb, showing them, downtown Lithonia, which has an amazing set of buildings, and I think all the ingredients there is to make a really fun place for the community. Downtown Stone Mountain we toured, and we recently purchased 4380 Memorial, where the tax commissioner's office is. The county had rented that facility for 28 years and has wanted to purchase it for about 2 decades. And so we were blessed that as soon as we took office in January, the seller had elected to sell and ran a process, and we won. And with the approval from Board of Commissioners closed a few weeks ago, we are going to do a request for proposals to the development community. The county, of course, needs to continue to have a sort of government complex, and we're thinking through how to make it a complex that's better to serve the people. But there could be other uses like housing and retail and other things on that site. So we're excited about that. And with that, I'll yield my time and love to have questions. So thank you for your time, and great to be with you this morning.
Thank you. All right, we also have representatives from various departments here. We've got Captain Rory here. Say hello. We've got Director Tracy Hutchinson, Director Damon Scott in the back, and who else we got? Thought I saw Dr. Kimball here, Aaron Kimball with Planning and Sustainability. You think he's gone? Okay. I'm sorry? Extension Services, yep, they're here out in the hallway. All right, so if we can get Director Hutchinson, if you just want to say a little bit about your role in your department and what's going on.
Sure, thank you so much. Good morning. I am Tracy Hutchinson. I am the Director of Sanitation and Beautification. Just a couple of keynotes. The recycling program, the residential recycling program, we have had some changes with that. The processor now has decided to only accept recycling numbers 1 and 2. So on the bottom of your container, there's the little code, the recycling code. They're only accepting 1 and 2. So any numbers 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, please look at alternative processing or recycling sites like Charms. But for the curbside recycling program, it's only 1 and 2. Go to our website. We have a PSA out there, a public service announcement that DCTV did for us. It's out there. It's really easy. It's not that hard, but we want to be sure that everybody understands it, because if we get the other codes that come into the roll cart, the processor is just going to process it as trash. So let's just be sure. So primarily water bottles are 1s, detergent bottles are 2s. Look on the bottom of it. The majority of the stuff that you take in your house are primarily 1 and 2s. So make sure that you're just looking at the bottom of that. Go to our website. We have a video out there. It's like 1 minute, a little over 1 minute. There's a video out there also. That's the main thing I want to go over this morning also. And then just a friendly reminder, The trucks need clear access. We cannot get to your road carts if the carts are blocked. Cars do not need to be on the street. We got these really big trucks that need to get down the street. So please be mindful that we're coming every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We need clear access. Please try to comply with the rules for sanitation. And again, we got a lot of phone calls. We have a big call center, we got a lot of phone calls. Excess bags, stuff that don't fit in the road cart, that is a special collection. And so we got a lot of residents, and I love the fact when Ms. Brooks, Director Clark, and I love Commissioner Johnson because she's an engineer, and I'm an engineer myself, so I love her train of thought all the time when I'm talking to her and presenting. Compliance is critical. We are coming. We're there 52 weeks out the year. We may be not exactly on time every week, but we're coming. If you're in compliance, we're going to service you. If you're not in compliance, stuff is going to be left behind. And so the commissioners get a ton of phone calls that sanitation hasn't serviced. When we go out there, we service you, it's the non-compliant stuff that we've left. And so with so many phone calls and trying to keep DeKalb clean, we're actually asking the administration and asking Martha Ravello, just as a new position in the CEO office, she's working with our state representatives. I'm actually asking her to see if there's any way that we can look at starting placing liens on people's homes. And commercial properties. Commercial properties just will not do the right thing. They won't get the right number of trash cans. We need to do something to get these commercial properties to stay in compliance. They're collecting rent. They're collecting rent. You should not be pulling into an apartment complex. You got garbage piled up all over everywhere. You should not be that way. Code enforcement run a lot of time trying to run down a homeowner that don't even live in DeKalb, that's had the whole house at the curb for 3 months. And you're the neighbor next door that's trying to do everything you can to keep it clean. It's a lot of time and effort we put into it. We could go out there and get it picked up immediately, but we need to recoup our money back. The only way to recoup our money back is to put a lien on it. It's drastic, but what do? We've been doing this, I've been at DeKalb for 21 years. This is the same issue I've been dealing with for 21 years as far as these big old piles out there that nobody won't pick up. I mean, that people won't pay to get picked up. So we don't have enforcement. Code has enforcement. We work a lot with code, but it's only so many days and months that could go by. This stuff could sit out there. At some point, it becomes a true eyesore. It becomes a safety hazard, becomes a health hazard. You want it picked up. We have the equipment and the people that can pick it up, but we need to be able to recoup the money back. And so that's what so I'm asking her to entertain that for this year when the House actually is in session. I'm asking her to entertain that. Because like sanitation is a witness. We are a witness. When they go to court, we have to be called in sometimes also. Last week we got called into a case, resident cut down all these trees. I'm not really sure why these tree cutters keep telling residents of sanitation pick them up. We'll pick them up for a fee, but $1,800 worth of trees. I don't know how, I mean, it was piles and piles of trees that the contractor cut down, left. Code enforcement, we were at the courthouse, literally at the courthouse. And some type of way the resident got it, she paid another contractor to come, he or she, I'm saying she, but because it was a lady, paid someone to finally come pick it up. But we had to go all the way to court to get the trees picked up. So it's something, you know, it's a reoccurring issue, it's just a reoccurring issue. But the apartment complexes, they need to be held accountable. Residents that are not doing the right thing need to be held accountable. I do appreciate, you know, we have a lot of commercial customers that do the right thing, the QTs, the Starbucks, you know, restaurants, because of course we want to go to those businesses. We're not going to those businesses with trash can running over and stuff like that. We're not going to spend our money in those places. But at the end of the day, It's important that we hold everybody accountable, though. And so just continue to have patience with us. We run a big operation in sanitation. You know, on a daily basis, we run over 300 trucks in sanitation. A lot of people, 600 staff members working, the call center working, our collectors, our drivers. So we thank the residents for having patience with us. We thank the residents for, especially in the summer months. A lot of y'all meet the trucks, get water, Powerade. Thank you so much for that. But just keep in mind that we do need clear access, and we do need residents to be in compliance when it comes to the trash services. And our mowing crews out there working also. Beautification, they do an excellent job. We get so many phone calls for illegal dumping. So many phone calls. And so, and we are very reactive, so we go out there, review it, we clean up, it's in the right of way. But if it's on private property, we gotta default back to code. And that's what we're saying, like, let us go onto the property and clean it up, but can we get our money back for the time and effort the crews had to go out there and do it? Because we'll go out there and get it done. We have the ability, but can we put a lien on that property to go out there and get our money back? It's too many vacant shopping centers and buildings sitting around, it's just illegal dumping. It's just too many in DeKalb. So we don't mind we don't mind cleaning it up, but we just wanna make sure that we could get compensation back. But we can't enter onto private property, so we need to be sure that we have the authority to do that. But thank you, Commissioner. Thank you so much as usual. Thanks for inviting me, and I'll stick around for any questions.
Thank you. All right, Captain, did you have anything to say?
Good morning, everybody. Just want to introduce myself real quick. My name is Captain Rory. Been with the county for 27 and a half years. I got promoted captain 4 months ago. Previous to that, I was.
Congratulations.
Previous to that, I was in an administrative position, and being back within the community and seeing the large amount of support that the community is giving the officers and the collaboration that we're getting, I'm very pleased with that and surprised. And I just want to hope it continues. And just to let you know, we know since I got back, I know a lot of the problems that the community's been having with street races, dumping. We have to deal with illegal dumping too, crime. We're doing a lot of initiatives and special operations to address those things. And thanks to the county commissioners and the CEO, they raised our incentive of police officers. So we're getting a lot of more officers joining the department. We're getting a lot of lateral transfers. So I see the numbers coming in. Just the 4 months I've been there, I'm seeing our manpower going up slowly but surely. Just we ask you to bear with us and, like I said, continue to support and come out and be a part of the community and interact. Because like I heard you said, you can't be a spectator from the couch. And I tell when we go to calls and we get complaints, I tell citizens, come to our community meetings, come to our coffees with the cops, get involved with the communities, then we can hear what you have to say firsthand. And it could be more of a positive, like you say, conversation than a complaining conversation. Mm-hmm. And that's the type of relationship we want to have with the community. Like I said, I'll be here for any questions you have after this too. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you. For district staff, some of the very common phone calls, emails that we get as it relates to sanitation would be the neighbor, we know those neighbors, where they've put some items out and it's been there for 2 weeks. And typically why that is because they didn't know that they need to be in touch with sanitation. So if you're one of those good neighbors and you see that a neighbor has put out a big piece of furniture and it's been sitting there, if you've got a relationship with them, just let them know that they need to be in touch with sanitation because that most likely is an item that they're going to have to pay for to get removed. But that's typically what we see when there are items that are left out there, the trees. And if we don't know this by now, there are many of companies that are out there that are cutting down trees. They know that there is a cost to remove the trees once they cut them down. But what they tell you, as director said, is, oh, they'll come and get it. So they're not being honest. And if you notice that a neighbor is taking down trees and, they could be within code, depending on how many trees they're taking down, depending on whether or not they live in an HOA, because HOAs also have their covenants regarding taking trees down. And if you're one of those good neighbors, just remind them that they may want to look into, not may want to, but they should look into what is it going to take to have the trees removed, and to be careful about the companies that they hire, because that's very common. They tell you that the county will take them, and they don't, because they're saving money by leaving the tree at your property. All right, so we're going to go into questions, and we'll do our best by way of our representatives to respond to your questions. If there are questions we cannot respond to because we don't have the answer, Carrie here and myself will get your information, and we'll record that, and we'll get back to you. So this is how we're going to do this. I have a mic, Carrie has a mic. We are going to hold the mic because we're going to try to get through this in about 30 minutes. So we're going to get your questions, but we're not going to be able, most likely, to get everybody today, but we will respond to you if you allow us to, and we'll take your information down. Ready? All right, this is like Speed Racer. You ready, Carrie? You can go to the back, and I'll signal you.
Good morning. I have two questions, and I might have to call another one into. The first question, I hear you saying about the debris. There was a time that the county had a special day in the month that they give you an opportunity to put out your trash, and they give you a courtesy to come and pick up that large debris. Sometimes they were charged depending on what was out. Do they still offer that courtesy?
So that was under our Clean Sweep program. We are working with Madam CEO. It is a possibility that we may run that one time this year. I don't have a date yet, but we are working on that. But yes, you are correct. We did it for many years. Funding is an issue. Funding is an issue.
The other question is your 10 feet right away. I noticed they came out last month, and they didn't really do the 10 feet, and they said due to time and lack of staff. I understand that. Also, I'm sorry, Miss Tracy. I'm sorry. And also, there's a creek. They said that the 10 feet cutaway is a different day than the creeks. Because I've been taking care of it for years, and I just found out there was a way to get the creek sprayed. I riff-raffed it all night. So just at least get it sprayed for the summer.
So herbicide or mowing in the right of way? Which one or both?
10 feet and the creek repair. You know, you get the monthly 10 feet or however often, every quarterly, you do the 10 feet quarterly. They're not actually doing the 10 feet, but they are cutting something. But I asked them about repairing or treating the creek that's in the back of my home. And I understand that there's a whole totally different department than.
It is. So I was getting ready to tell you, I hate to kick the ball down the street, but that is roads and drainage. That's actually not me. That's actually roads and drainage. So Commissioner Johnson's office will take that information for you.
I can answer the question. Also, I want to add about the creek. Is the creek on your property, or is it considered county property?
It's the alleyway, but I've been treating for the 20 years. It's alleyway and then the creek and then other property on the alleyway.
Oh, okay. One quick note about creeks. If the creek is on your property, you as a homeowner is responsible for the creek. Yeah, so no, this is just for general. Yeah, and so that's something that a lot of homeowners don't know. I have a creek that runs through, Crooked Creek, that
Right.
goes through my subdivision. And so I'm responsible for the cleanup, the rip-wrapping and everything else of the creek.
Well, I did it, but it's not on my property. I riff-raffed it on,
Yeah.
but it's not on my property.
Carrie, you got somebody back there. And then when we finish up with this one, if you can read questions from the YouTube viewers. Thank you.
Okay. This is for code enforcement. I believe I spoke to you earlier about cones in the street, traffic cones. Well, this same property also has several refrigerators that they were selling from their home that is parked up in the front part of their home along with other stoves. So that too can be addressed by code enforcement? Okay, thank you.
Yes, absolutely. If you can, and I'll have one of my officers get that information and then give us the property location. We'll come out, two things, open storage in the front yard. We consider that open storage, trash and debris, and also operating a business in a residential, we can't sell goods from our front lawn or the driveways.
Carrie's going to read a couple of questions from our YouTube viewers.
Yes, Miss Pamela Wilcox says, Ms. Clark, what about signs that are continually being put on telephone poles and steel poles? This is a constant. I have called the numbers on the signs myself to ask for them to stop.
So, with signs in the right-of-way, it's illegal, you can't have that. DeKalb County's gotten a lot better. I remember years ago when we just had a proliferation of signs throughout the community. We want to get ourselves out of the sign business, so every month, actually every 3 weeks, we go out and we do a comprehensive sign sweep throughout the entire county. We pick those signs up, take them across the landfill, we get a measurement, and we track how many signs. I can say, throughout the years, we've seen that tonnage go down month over month. We used to have to do sign sweeps every week at one point. Now we're up to 3 weeks. So getting ourselves out the sign business is a good thing because that means we're seeing less and less signs. Luckily, you know, with digital, what we're seeing, but we do go out, we do pick up those signs every 3 weeks. Also on Saturdays, our Saturday crew, they drive around and they also pick up signs. Not just code, but there's an ordinance passed that every county employee driving a county vehicle is authorized to pick up the signs out of the right of way. So that's something that we're doing comprehensively as a county.
And then the second question here is, how is the county dealing with the LLC companies maintaining residential properties?
Yes, so we treat them as any other property owner. We do have contacts for those companies. And so whenever there's a violation, we write up and we take them to court. So it's something that, you know, we're working with all those major, I call them hedge fund companies that owns so many properties in our residential neighborhood. So we do hold them accountable also.
Hello. First off, I want to say, just like the chief of staff, I've lived in DeKalb my whole life, moved away for a little bit and came back. And I just want to say thank you all, because it feels like there's like a breath of fresh air with the leadership and administration. So I just want to say thank y'all. But I also have a few questions. I'll try to keep it quick. So number one is, and again, I love that you guys kind of addressed all these when you were talking, but we live in a subdivision like most of us. Most of these subdivisions are pretty big, and some have, you know, parks within the subdivision, and we have one, and, you know, it's like the same cars there every day at the gazebo smoking weed. We've called the police, we've gone to the precinct for a patrol, we never see the patrol. Like, what else can we do? Because it's like, it's an everyday thing, it's the same people. And in a way, you know, we've got this brand new playground that was built that we're thankful for, but, you know, who wants to bring their kids there when this is happening? So that's the first question, the real reason my husband's sitting here today, is to ask, what else can we do? I know that, you know, there may be short staff, and I'm being understanding, but I really want to know, what else can we do? Is it because it's a public property, there's, you know, you can't be as tough on loitering because technically everybody's welcome. Like, what can we do to, you know, discourage that kind of behavior in our subdivision park?
We get a lot of those complaints a lot in reference to, you know, people loitering in subdivision parking lots. We got a couple of calls with homeless people who live in gazebos and subdivisions. At the moment, like you said, we do patrol as often as possible on those type of properties when we get those complaints. And when the officers go there, most of the times there's nobody's there. And at times we get the call, depends on the time of the day you get the call, and the call volume, you know, determines how quick we can respond there. But most of the times when officers respond there, you know, the people are gone. So we'll try to do a better job of trying to get in there sooner, or patrol as more often as possible based on, you know, the time and what the situation's going on at the time.
I also want to add something too. If you live in an organized homeowners association or an association where you have a board of directors, what you have, and I don't know where you live and what you have, but when you refer to it as a park, it really is constituted as common space for the community, and the community is responsible for the common area. So your board of directors have a number of things that they can do, and depending on your HOA and what your budget looks like, some HOAs have security. Some HOAs have put up cameras in those areas. Some HOAs have used systems like flock cameras, the license recognition plate cameras. My HOA, we did that for the front and both entrances because of issues that we were having, and it really tapped things down. So while law enforcement can come and do some patrols, if you have an operating HOA, your HOA, board of directors, and the community are going to need to look at some other things that you can do inside of your HOA to help law enforcement do what they do. Does that?
No, it makes sense. I know we don't have an HOA.
Oh,
I
you
think
don't.
Thank you. We don't have an HOA. I think at some point, maybe back in the 80s, we had a civic association, but it is technically a county park. So there's that part. But what I'm hearing is to just keep calling and being annoying. I'm sorry, but we will.
Or you can request at your through your precinct more patrols, and
We
so
did.
you did that. So
We have
I'm going to
What
say
is the location?
yeah, we're
Stoneview Park.
Soundview Park?
Stoneview Park. It's a brand new playground now. Like,
yep.
you know. She mentioned gunshots as well, but like every day, because I take my kids to, I take my kids to school. They actually go to Robert Sharp up here every morning. When I come back, they're there.
So reach out to us, to our office, and
Okay.
we'll talk.
Okay.
I'm going to say something.
Can I say one
Yeah.
thing?
I'm going to say something in terms of law enforcement.
Mhm.
They get a lot of phone calls.
I know.
We all know this, right? Every day.
I get it.
And they have to prioritize.
Right.
So you and I talk some more, but Captain Rory mentioned the Coffee with a Cop, the community meetings.
I was gonna say, which cop do I have to bribe with breakfast to come? Like, what do we gotta do? I'm asking for solutions.
No bribes,
I mean it.
no bribes, but we do community meetings all the time with law enforcement.
Yeah.
And we're happy to schedule something in your area, but they regularly do community neighborhood meetings every single month.
Yeah, and I see it on the ring.
Every single month.
Yeah, I see it. And then I'm sorry, I'm hoping these apply to other people too. I just have two more questions. I'll start with the first one. It's pretty quick. So this is a code enforcement question in our neighborhood. I think I already know the answer, unfortunately, but sanitation actually mentioned it too. Everybody parks on the street. I don't know why, but they park on the street and it's disturbing. And my question is, I know that some of the cars, they can't move, and those we can continue to put in, complaints about into, for code enforcement, but I just want to hear technically, is there a problem with people parking in the street if the car, is operable? Is there anything we can do about that other than, personally, like she said, as a neighborhood, asking people?
So when it comes to parking on the street, code enforcement has no jurisdiction
Yeah.
over streets. It's the same issue with the cones.
Yep.
I explained, when the cone is in the street, we have no jurisdiction over the street. That
Okay.
falls on the PD. With the parking in the neighborhood, PD really, and I don't want to answer for you, but they're allowed to park in the street unless you have no parking signs up and down the street.
Okay.
And so I don't want to answer Captain Rory for you, but we don't have any jurisdiction over parking in the
Okay.
streets.
I didn't think so.
Unfortunately.
And
go
ahead.
with the parking in the streets. I know some homeowners association, they have that in a covenant, like you can't park. And like I said, it's in a covenant. Some of those laws are not in the state statute.
Right.
So the only thing we can enforce when it comes to streets, and we had this issue in the past, is your right tire's got to be against the curb, that you got to be facing the direction of travel to park. When people they come in and they park the opposite way, we can cite them. We can cite them for that. But if
Okay.
they left tires, their right tires are not on the curb. But like I said, most of those are covenant statutes, not state statutes, so we only can enforce if they basically don't have their right tires on the curb.
Okay,
Okay.
that's what I thought. I just need to hear it. And then
We gotta move on. I'm sorry. We got a room
Okay,
full.
I'll
We'll get you later. Did you say, okay. And it's not illegal to park on the street. It's, yeah, okay. Well, Captain Rory identified what they can cite you for, but parking on the street and it's your neighbor and they've got company, that's not illegal unless it's impeding traffic. Okay.
Okay, my question is for code enforcement. What if the individual doesn't have a garage to repair their tires or whatever, and they have a carport? Is that illegal?
So a carport may be fine. That's so the code is black and white. The code is black and white, so we follow the code. So it says an enclosed space. That means it needs to be somewhere that's enclosed. A carport is not always an enclosed space. It may just have some columns and a roof over it, and some carports are partially enclosed around the side. It's a stretch. And I think the goal is, changing a tire, and it all depends on if your neighbor's gonna call. But usually your neighbor's not gonna call if you're changing one tire one time. These are usually egregious issues.
And this is for Captain Tobie. So Chapel Hill, as you know, had a shooting 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago, whatever. We have 7 entrances to come into Chapel Hill. And to put a camera up on each entrance is kind of crazy. So a lot of the people that come over into the subdivision don't live in the subdivision. And like she said, they're in the cabana, they're smoking weed, they're doing all kinds of stuff. Every now and then I see DC down there. But DC's not there when they need to be there. So, and then when you do call DeKalb County, it takes them 40 to 50 minutes to get there, even when they were just a mile and a half at River Road. So now you're 4 miles from Chapel Hill, and it still takes 40 minutes for them to respond. So what can we do to be better with that?
Okay. I understand, like I said, that's a complaint with a lot of citizens. And like she mentioned earlier, we prioritize calls based on the priority of them. But what could also help the police department, like we're about to start our real life crime center coming up soon, and we have a program called Fuchsias, which a lot of the businesses are already involved, where you can connect your home interior cameras like your Ring, Bell, and everything to integrate into the police system, where we can see live action on things. And therefore, if we see when a real life crime center goes live, we can actually see things and could dispatch officers there in a more quickly manner. We feel if it's a more priority because we have eyes on it. Right now, we have a small, I could say, a mini testing thing with the real life crime center, and it's going to be a very powerful crime fighting tool when it gets live. Just getting more businesses and homeowners to, register for it, so we can see. Like, we don't want to see your interior cameras, but like your Ring doorbell cameras on the outside of your house. We can be able to see those live, like you can see it on your phone. You're away from your house, and that would be a great crime fighting tool. And then those areas, when we get those calls, we can actually go to cameras in those areas that if we can't get there on time, we can identify vehicles that's there, identify the license plates, identify even people who are there, and we can follow up on that on a later basis. But that's coming in the very near future. We should be going live by the end of this year.
Okay, one last thing.
I can hear you.
So, I was talking to code enforcement earlier, and we have an individual that moved into our cul-de-sac in Chapel Hill. The majority of the people over there are seniors. This young man hasn't even been there a year. He has been harassing people that come and park along the curb. He has the longest driveway in the curb. There are 2 of us whose houses are down, steep down. And so when guests come, they don't want to come down the driveways. They park up in the area where there's no driveway or no mailbox. So it's not illegal for them to park there, but he has blocked people's cars in, and he has ran them off to where they don't want to come over in the neighborhood and the seniors over there are petrified. I'm not. And I told DeKalb County when they came twice, it won't be a third time. This guy has to understand that the parking area, as long as it's not impeding your driveway, your mailbox, people can park along the curb. But he takes it upon himself. He's angry because he can't park his box car there, his commercial box car there. And so he started harassing the other residents there and going knocking on their door. You gotta move your car. No, they don't have to move their car. So what can we do other than a cease and desist order? What can we do?
Is the box,
I could,
are you talking about a commercial, or commercial?
The commercial vehicles is not allowed. You know, give us that address, and we'll make sure that we address that issue. I think I'm concerned with him blocking vehicles in. Yeah, that might be, is that you, Captain Rory? Blocking folks in?
what I'll do, I'll come with you offline and talk with you about that and get that information, and that sound like a personal, not personal, but a specific incident that's probably don't involve the whole community, so I'll get you information after the meeting.
Okay, all right, Carrie's got somebody back here, and I'll just remind the audience, we're gonna be wrapping up soon. If you can get to your question, and if it's very detailed and specific to something in your neighborhood community, we're probably gonna need to take your information, because if it's not so general, it's gonna be hard for them to respond because it's very specific to your concern.
Okay. I have illegal tire dumping on my private property. And I'm not sure if I need to talk to the gentleman on this end of the table or the lady on this end of the table. I have had some, I have been contacted by code enforcement. I've had some reaction from them. They have given me a deadline, but I have upwards of 1,000 tires dumped on my private property in DeKalb County. And I'm gonna have to have them removed, and I have no idea where to start. Someone told me to call sanitation. Sanitation says, we don't do that. And then someone says, call the EPA. And everybody is just taking me in a circle. It was illegally dumped on my property that was well maintained, but I have to evidently pay to get them removed. And it's upwards of 1,000 tires, and it's gonna cost me approximately, over probably $5,000 to remove them. And I need to talk to someone because I don't know what to do. I don't know who to go to. I just need some information.
Yeah. That is the difficult part in all that we do when it comes to the illegal tire dumping, because we have property owners who, you're the victim in this, even though you do have a responsibility to make sure that your property is secured and maintained, you also are a victim of this. So when you discover the tires being dumped, did you take out a police report?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's the first thing, because that's a crime, because someone legally dumped that volume of tires on your property.
Right.
The law being black and white, basically say that you have dumping on your property, and so we have to hold you accountable. That's the law. And so legally, that's the avenue that we have. We know that having a property owner incur that expense, that's problematic, because who can afford to clean up, you know, 1,000 or more tires? And so I don't have a solution for you right now as far as getting tire cleanup, but we will work with you. The county as a whole, we're looking for solutions on how to address this issue. So I want to get your information. I'm sure we have your information, but I want to make sure I get your specific information. One of the things I'm going to tell you is you have to work on prevention. I'm not sure if you are located on a property, if it's a property that you have a home on or a business, but one of the things that I've been telling people that once you experience that, if it's because a lot of times the properties that are being dumped on is where it's land or it's a vacant business or building, and so they come and dump. So part of the responsibility is securing the property, whether it's by a fence, whether it's by those big concrete blocks, Director Hutchinson know what they're called, and also cameras. putting cameras on your property, because then at least you can try to hold whoever's responsible to prevent future dumping. But a lot of it is preventing it from happening in the first place by making sure the property is secure. That prevents it, but then here we are after the fact, and I know you need a solution. So let's talk about that offline.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
If you could just bring an address and contact information. This issue is all over the county, and as I alluded to it before, this is what we're trying to pull together the next 30 days. There are a lot of folks like yourself that don't have the funds or resources to clean it up, and so we're coming up with a plan. Hopefully, we'll announce shortly. But please give me your address. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, thanks so much for having this time to ask this question on the first minute. So I heard you said about people that are very congested in their apartment and they need to get a home and they don't have a chance to move. How people that applied in that grant you have and to get an access to have a own home for his families?
Yeah, and I think you might be referring to, there was an announcement made a couple of weeks ago about a $7.8 million funding stream that we had received from the federal government for rental assistance, and that's through the community development group. They have an entire application process. There was a gentleman here, Tommy Phillips, I don't know if he, oh, there he is. Talk to this gentleman right here. He can give you all the specifics, but they're the ones who administer the funds. Yeah, yes, sir.
Yes, my issue is what is being done about these 18-wheelers parked all over in the neighborhoods. I live in a condo in Clarkston, and they park at the entrance. We've had DeKalb County come out and put no parking signs up there. They still park there. They block the no parking sign, and it's dangerous because we can't see to exit out. I was almost hit trying to come out of my community. My mom, who is 85, who visits, I have to literally walk her so she can exit out safely. I mean, this is an ongoing problem, and they're parking everywhere and all over the place. What is being done about this?
So when our district, when we get the emails and the phone calls regarding the tractor trailers, there are a couple of departments that I get in touch with. That would be the police department, code compliance, and transportation. So you mentioned signs being put up. So there is a heavy focus on the tractor trailers. There are a lot of them all across the county that are doing exactly what you're experiencing. And I don't know if there's any breaking news y'all have, but it's a case by case. We let these various departments know that it's happening. Code compliance goes out and they cite them. Police go out if they're illegally parked and they cite them as well.
Yeah. And regarding the tractor trailers, code compliance gets involved if the trailer's parked on private property. It's in a residential area. So if it's parked outside of its zoned location, meaning you can't have the 18-wheelers in a residential area. So if it's on the property in the driveway, then we can address it. If it's on the street, and in your case, blocking or impeding traffic, then that would be the police department.
Okay, now because they're parking inside also. So what did you just say?
Yeah. So if it's on private property, so for example, your neighbor brings a tractor trailer, parks it in the driveway, then code enforcement handles that because it's on the property. Because remember, we regulate property, private property. We don't regulate public property. Streets is considered public property. And so public property, that falls under the jurisdiction of the police department. So if it's on the road, then that will default to the police department.
Yeah, we can also look at the fines, because I think it's a lower fine amount for parking the semi-truck. So we'll take a look at that with the Board of Commissioners.
I was wondering about the progress on the RFP for the traffic light at Valley Brook and Hollywood. We just had another traffic accident 2 weeks ago where the young man thought it was a four-way stop and it was not. I've seen two accidents within a week, one of which involved a fire truck. I've seen a young woman, her car was flipped over on her birthday, thinking it was a four-way stop. So I know a neighbor of mine has put in and spoken with codes, roads, and the last I heard was the RFP was going to take 2 years, but they are planning to put in a traffic light at Valley Brook and Hollywood, and I'm wondering what the status is of that.
Okay, we don't have a representative here today from transportation, so we'll have to look into that.
Good morning, everybody. Sorry for my laryngitis. It's so nice to have these meetings every so often so we can all get to know each other, and congratulations to the new management. Quick question. I've had my little house off Rock Bridge about 12 years now, and if my house is behind me, if I look across Rock Bridge Road, and I've kind of contacted the county numerous times over the last 4 years, nothing's happened, unfortunately, so maybe that'll change now, but it's really, really bad. Now, kudzu and ivy has just overtaken the trees across the street, and nobody will do anything, and eventually that kills trees. Some of those trees are very, very tall. They're gonna take the power lines out. I've read where they've fallen on cars, killed people. Then that's gonna be a lawsuit that the taxpayer's gonna have to eventually eat. But if we could do something, it's really, really bad. It's like a wild green. It's insane, and it's getting worse by the day, and nobody's doing anything. Plus, the county came out, I think earlier this year, and cut a whole bunch of limbs right across the street from my house. And I kind of complained because they left just huge chunks of log, and they finally came out because beautification, thank you, kind of got involved. And they took some, so I called back in and said, sorry, hate to be a pain, but you left a ton. And the response was, well, that's on private property. I said, well, you cut them and dumped them there. It's your responsibility to get them all. So kudzu issue, please, when those trees start dying and falling and taking up power lines and killing people, it's gonna be too late. So just those couple things, but God bless everybody. Have a good weekend.
Yeah. Officer Taylor, if you can get that address and let's look it up and see what we have on that property, thanks.
I was hoping that Commissioner Johnson would be in here also. I'm actually asking about the Norman Road traffic calming issue that we've been working on for a year and a half. And we haven't heard back on anything that's supposed to be done. At the same time, we're also having a problem, and I think it's both a county and a Clarkston issue, because the bridge and the waterway between the lake and the park is collapsing. So maybe this would be a good time that we would get all of this done together. But not only that, we've had the park activity with all the kids. We're gonna have the fall activity with the soccer, the volleyball, and the cricket. Jolly School's going to be in attendance and everything, so we are going to have a lot more kids walking around. So I just was wondering, because we have kind of discussed it, and what's the status of it? If you guys could reach out once more to us as to let us know what the status is with the traffic department, we would appreciate it, because then we'll know that we're still kind of on the radar. It's a huge community over there, lots of kids, lots of park activity and stuff, and the road's been collapsing for almost a year from Hurricane Helene, and I don't know what the status is on that either, so thank you.
Greetings. I'm in Raven Springs subdivision. I have sent emails to the county regarding commercial mechanic shop on the street he's operating. He has a box truck that's parked on the road. I notice now he parks it in the yard. I've also noticed he's actually removed the signage. There's also a dilapidated home, broken windows. We're talking about the siding holes in it, some of them are actually removed, abandoned cars right in the subdivision. We're talking about trash bins on the side of the road 24/7. We're talking about abandoned cars that's parked out there. And the code enforcement officer indicated a couple of times there's nothing that he can do. So I just need to address these issues just to figure out what can we do. And also kudzu. It's covering the yards, it's covering all the trees, because it's an older neighborhood. Like, what can we do to clean this up?
Yeah. So when I came on board, apparently there was a sweep done in Raven Springs. And so I kind of walked into that because I'm not sure if it was you or several neighbors that reached out to me to say, hey, why did you close out these cases? So I took a look at those photos, and Stevie Wonder could have seen that those properties were in violation. I've since sent the crew, the officers out to redo that sweep. They came back, they missed a couple of violations, I sent them back again. So part of this, I'm saying this to say, we've got these new officers, and so it's a training issue also. So I'm working with them, training as we go. We're, kind of flying this plane, building it too. And so we're addressing your issue. Last week, we did another sweep. We went out in the area, and so we've got a few properties that citations have been issued. So we're aware of everything in that neighborhood, and that was a comprehensive sweep that was done. And for a while, we're not going to be doing any more residential sweeps because we're trying to focus on some of the egregious corridors. But I know that was one that had started, and so I want to finish it. So I am aware, and we are addressing those issues.
Good morning. I wanted to piggyback on the young lady that you all are having the issue on your parks. When we had an issue with drugs right next door in the senior housing, we were given the opportunity by PD to come and do their, what do you call the morning?
Coffee with a cop.
No, it's
I think that was National Night Out.
roll call. I'm trying to, roll call. When they showed up in our right there, doing roll call, that put another taste for those that were constantly selling drugs and doing drugs right there on our street. So that's something that maybe CEO Johnson, Madam Chair, could see about getting for these communities, because when you have a lot of calls, they would respond sometimes in that way. Do roll call.
My question is for the captain. One of the first things you said was the problem with street racing, and we have a big problem with that on Stone Mountain, Lithonia Road. So I'm wondering how that's being addressed.
We have done several initiatives over the past few months, especially since I've been at East Precinct. We did one last week, and we caught about over 150 street races on Woodrow Road and Lithonia Industrial Boulevard. We wrote 201 citations. Like, this was last Sunday night alone. We have other initiatives. Thank you. We have more initiatives planned in the future where we're going to do even more enforcement. We have an upcoming multi-jurisdictional operation in reference to street races with Georgia State Patrol, Rockdale County, Henry County Police, because we all, not just the cab, but the Metro Atlanta area is having that issue with the street races. And I'll say over the past, couple of months, I know we caught them in Wade Walker Park. We wrote 100 citations that night. We caught them at, I don't know if you're familiar with Evans Mill Road and Mall Parkway, that shopping plaza called The Bomb. We wrote over 100 citations that night, and like I said, last Sunday we wrote 201 citations. Now that we got with the solicitor's offices in a way to have more harder enforcement with them, now we're gonna start arresting them and impounding vehicles. So the next operation we do, we're gonna step it up. So we definitely do have, but like I said, it's a collaborated effort because, like I said, we got with the solicitor's offices, so they're aware of the operations now, being that they're on board. Like I said, we can do more enforcement, and we know we won't have a log jam in the courts when we do it. And like I said, it's not just those areas, like I said, it's throughout the county, but we are effectively working on that. You're welcome.
Thank you. Carrie?
All right, we're going to take a couple more questions here. I know we got started a little bit later this morning, but the meeting, is over. So anyone who had questions that we weren't able to get to in this time, please do stay behind. Myself and Alicia will be here to take your questions separately, offline, and we'll get your questions answered.
Right now, I live in Kenilworth Estates, and we've been having a serious uptick with a homeless encampment that the neighborhood got involved to help people to relocate. But we also still have an issue with a home that is owned by Invitation Homes, and we've had to take the initiative to get that boarded up because they still left the utilities on. The homeless were being going in and out of there and squatters. But the other issue is that there is currently an RV that is parked at Spring Mill Shopping Center that appears to be engaged in some illegal activities, and it's been there for several weeks. The police have been there before, however, the RV is still sitting there and it's still quite an issue. The other thing is around the concept of reimagining. I know that code enforcement, the community would love to be involved in different ways. Would you consider perhaps maybe doing ride-alongs with some community members so we can point out to you some of the egregious areas that we've seen over the years that we would love to be able to get some traction and get those addressed?
So definitely, we do have community groups doing ride-alongs with the officers. I'm not scheduling ride-alongs just yet because I want to get the officers up to a certain level as far as training. However, send us the list of properties and we'll come out and we'll address it, including the Spring Mill. I'll have the corridor team go out and take a look to see what's going on with that trailer. We also work closely with our police department because a lot of times, these things cross jurisdictions. And so if it's something that's illegal, we address our part, we pull them in, they address their part, and so hopefully we'll get it taken care of.
Thank you. We're going to get to our last question.
This is a general question, not a specific street, and it's for Jacob. I am really concerned about the Trump cuts particularly for after school and for recreation and for daycare money. What do you think DeKalb is going to be able to step in, particularly on after school programs? I'm kind of freaking out when I talk to parents and they say, my kid's just going to have to get off the bus at age 8 and go home. And I don't think that's a good idea. So what's DeKalb? Do you have an idea? I know you're the development guy, and I know the money is tight, but that's going to affect all of us.
Yeah, for sure. And your concern is in the right place, and it's not only after-school programs, but it's also SNAP and Medicaid. We have over 100,000 residents on SNAP in DeKalb. We have over 100,000 on Medicaid. We are working on philanthropy is the short answer. We feel like this period of time, we need to get more philanthropy into DeKalb County. The City of Atlanta does a great job bringing philanthropy to solve issues where government funding is not available. Prior to coming to the county, I worked on the West Side Future Fund. We raised $110 million for the west side of Atlanta. We are working on a similar type program for DeKalb. It is challenging to get philanthropy in DeKalb County, but so we're setting our expectations a little bit lower, but we do think that having a thoughtful approach to philanthropy to see if they could assist us. I know the Board of Commissioners and CEO's office are talking about and have been talking about this since January because we were all anticipating the big beautiful bill to be not so beautiful. So we are working on it.
So are you talking to big foundations?
Big foundations, yeah.
Like Arthur Blank?
We can't hear you.
Community, yeah. The usual suspects. Yeah.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for coming out today. We appreciate you. We appreciate your thoughtful questions and comments. We're going to be here a little bit. And Commissioner, if you want to add anything?
No, I just to the philanthropy note, you'll see most of your district commissioners through our appropriations that we can make from our offices. We do try and make some of those appropriations where appropriate and where we can. It is a little bit harder for the county entity itself to make those type of appropriations, but we are all very cognizant of that, and we're trying to do what we can to work towards that. So again, thank you guys so much for making this a success as always. It's great to see you all. We'll be hanging around to get more questions and contact information if you need something. Thank you.